Man, what is good, people? During my review/breakdown video for Sonic Origins Plus, I said I'd be ranking the Game Gear games in a future video. Well, this is that video. I put quite a bit of time into these games recently, and in this video I'll go over stuff that I did and did not like about each title. Full disclaimer, of course, this is my personal opinion about all these games. So if you disagree with anything I had to say, please be respectful in the comments. And of course, if you're new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button as we're on the road to 10k subs. If you do choose to subscribe, be sure your notifications are set to all, as it's set to personalized by default. I've recently been getting into the habit of posting multiple videos daily, so having your notifications set to all will ensure you hear about all my uploads. With all that being said, let's get right into this tier list. So, alright, let's start with Sonic 1. Where the heck is it? Here it is, Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, it just goes here. Oh, by the way, tiers are gonna be ordered as well, so like, the tiers on the left of a category are like for example, okay, there's like a best okay and like worst okay. Yeah, gonna be doing that too. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and also we're starting with the platformer games because that's just what I started with, so yeah. Sonic 1 it's kind of the, how would I call it? The equilibrium force of the Game Gear games, maybe? It's fine, right? Like, it's fine. You know, it's simple enough. It's the first one, it's the first game released on the Game Gear. The first Sonic game released on Game Gear, anyway. Yeah, it's fine. Has Green Hill Zone amongst some other of its own zones. I did end up finishing this one in about 30 minutes. It's like really short, pretty easy. Has surprisingly good graphics for like their first attempt at a, you know, 8-bit handheld Game Gear game. Now I am aware this was also a Master System, so I mean, there's like two versions of this. There's like Game Gear and Master System, but yeah, it's fine. Pretty simple game, pretty simple bosses. What's also interesting is like Sonic 1 on Genesis had special stages where you'd have to collect 50 rings to get to the end of the stage, touch the big ring, go to the special stage, yada yada yada. This game, you have to track down the emeralds within certain acts of zones. So your first example, obviously, Green Hill, Act 2, there's a Chaos Emerald just sitting within the underground portion, so you have to find it. And that's just how you get the emeralds, so you can get the true ending and all that junk. It's just a really simple, like honestly, I almost want to put it in better than okay, just because of the state of some of these other games. But I just think it's okay. It's literally in the middle for me. It has okay music. You know, it has Green Hill Zone, but then, you know, once we get to Bridge Zone, you know, that's a pretty recognizable tune from the game, and then Jungle is pretty nice. What the heck, was Labyrinth after Jungle? I think so, but Labyrinth Zone and Game Gear Sonic 1 is a different song, but at the same time, Labyrinth in this game is also Labyrinth, so you gotta deal with the underwater nonsense and all that. Hit detection can be kind of jank on the bosses, which kind of goes for all these games. If they have a boss, like, yeah, hit detection can be jank. There's these bonus stages you could go to if you actually collect 50 rings and get to the end, but all you're doing there is collecting rings and 1-ups and junk. Those are all right. I didn't end up going there too much. Oh yeah, and the rings don't quite function the way you'd expect them to, because, you know, normally in a Sonic game, you collect rings. If you get hit, you can pick the rings back up. This game is like, okay, if you collect a bunch of rings, you get hit, and then it falls out of your body as one ring and never comes back, so you're kind of screwed if you get hit. I guess they didn't figure out picking rings back up on the Game Gear yet. After Scrap Brain, the game doesn't end, because then there's Sky Base. So there is actually an extra zone at towards the end, which is kind of neat. But yeah, Sonic 1, just okay, pretty fun game. Not outstanding, you know. It's just, I feel like it's just baseline, man. Because the thing with these platformer games is that they kind of evolve as you know, as we progressively get to the latest one, they just evolve. So yeah. Anyway, Sonic 2. Let's move on to Sonic 2. Where is Sonic 2? Right here. So this, I would also put in okay, but lower than the first game. There's things that I don't like about Sonic 2. So the defining characteristics of Sonic 2 on Genesis is, Tails. You know, Tails would follow behind Sonic. Tails would assist in defeating enemies and bosses because he always mimicked your actions. You could also just play as Tails by himself. I mean, you couldn't make him fly in Genesis Sonic 2, but you could just play as a different character. I mean, yeah, and on top of that, the spin dash was introduced. You know, there's some pretty staple features introduced in Sonic 2 and Genesis that are not present in the Game Gear game, because the Game Gear game is basically Sonic 1 again, but it's a bit more difficult. It's a lot more gimmicky too. So there's that. You know, because for example, there's like, what is the second stage called? Green Hills Zone? Which I'm like, dog, really? Green Hills Zone? Man. Yeah, in that zone, that's where you use the glider. Controlling that thing is not great, and there's actually a section in that stage, I think in the second act, where you are required to use the glider, and if you mess up with it, then you just fall into a pit of spikes and die. That's kind of not fun. Not to mention, and there's like, this is like an issue with quite a few of these games, but you know, because it's on Game Gear, the screen is really zoomed in. There's a lot of screen crunch. You know, so what I mean by that is like you're very zoomed in on the sprites, the character sprites, and it's like, because of that, every time you're like moving around and you're jumping, the screen is scrolling a lot, and also you're not able to react to things that are like below you or in front of you that well. So, yeah, that's kind of an issue with this game. Most notably, the first boss. I've definitely had a sour spot for this boss. The pincer and Eggman throwing the cannonballs down the slope. And it's like the cannonballs bounce and roll around at like random intervals each time. So it's like, yeah, it's pretty hard to deal with on a tiny screen like that. The tiny screen definitely makes the bosses a bit more difficult, especially that first one. I didn't find myself like getting past it a lot. And I mean, yeah, I know, skill issue, but still, like it's just freaking, it's kind of annoying to deal with. You still have to hunt down Chaos Emeralds. There's no like special stages. I don't even think there's like bonus stages in this game either. Let me see another thing. Yeah, the thing is, and this also makes the first boss pretty difficult, in conjunction with the screen crunch, you do not have access to rings. Like, unless I'm forgetting, for the bosses in this game, you can't, like, you do not have access to rings. So you have to defeat the boss without getting hit each time. Now in Sonic 2 on Genesis, this thing was not done until Death Egg Zone. This game, it's the case for every boss. It can be pretty easy to get hit due to the screen crunch and the jankiness of the Game Gear games overall, but it's like, for this game, the screen crunch and the no rings against bosses, it's just, it does not feel that much fun, in my opinion. So, still an okay, I almost want to put it in not okay. Now after talking about this, I'm like, I almost want to put it in not okay, but I'm just gonna keep it in okay for now, because it's mostly like Sonic 1, just missing some things that would make it stand further apart from Sonic 1. You know, no Tails following you around, or even playable Tails. Tails is shown during the zone title cards. Of like Tails is shown adventuring around with Sonic, but the plot of this game is actually to rescue Tails because he got kidnapped by Eggman in the Crystal Egg Zone or something. Yeah, it's kind of weird. This is basically just Sonic 1, but kind of more janky and definitely a little more difficult. I will say the sprite work and the colors, the graphics are a bit more improved as well. But no, I think I prefer Sonic 1 over Sonic 2 overall. Yeah, Sonic Chaos. Sonic Chaos, I would actually put above. This is this game almost feels like an apology for Sonic 2. I'm not even gonna lie. It feels like an apology or something, but nah, like, so obviously the main thing here is playable Tails. Now, the thing with Tails in this game is the thing with choosing Sonic and Tails in this game is like it's treated as a difficulty mode, right? Like Sonic is the normal mode, Tails is the easy mode. You would already say Tails is the easy mode in classic Sonic games because he can fly. He can fly over a lot of obstacles and like skip a lot of the level just flying around. But this game literally makes it a difficulty mode. So when you play as Tails, you get more starting lives and you get like 5 continues, which is actually crazy. I was kind of oblivious to this, I'll be honest, because like I wanted to check the manuals for the games like after I was done playing and just see like, you know, it's just something kind of crucial that I missed. And yeah, like it just kind of flew over my head, pun not intended. But yeah, Tails is basically easy mode. Now the trait, and also Tails flies. He flies by pressing up and jump on the ground. You can't like fly when you're already jumping, so I don't really like that control, but that's just how it is here, and that's how it is for like these Game Gear games in general. But the other big caveat is that Tails cannot access the special stages and get the Chaos Emeralds for the true ending. In the in the recent play session I had with this game, I did play as Tails just to shake things up a bit. And yeah, I was surprised after I read the manual, but yeah, it's kind of wild. Now aside from that, this is where they introduced sort of a blocky looking level design for the Game Gear games. A lot of the levels look very blocky. This game almost gives off sort of a, like in terms of the level design, it gives off sort of this homogeneous feel to the whole game, because you're kind of just running around and you're breaking the blocks within levels. So you're just kind of running around seeing a bunch of blocks and just thinking, oh, can I break that? I guess I can. The idea is that these are a lot of trap-filled levels. There's a lot of hidden springs and a lot of breakable blocks. That's kind of the idea with this game. These Game Gear games have like okay music, but a lot of it is not super memorable. Like, I don't know, a lot of it just kind of goes by my head, or just like, you know, it slips past my mind, the music. The music in these Game Gear games like don't really strike me as like memorable tunes. You know, for the most part, there's obviously some exceptions. Oh, also Spin Dash, that's in, but it is that Sonic CD style where you have to hold the Spin Dash. You don't rev it up by mashing a button. You literally just hold down the jump button and you're charging the Spin Dash and then you just go. It's pretty much like that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, like the level design's just not that memorable. The levels can feel pretty short. I could end up like just bouncing on a couple springs. I'm just through the stages, just like that. I guess my reasoning for it being better than like Sonic 1 and 2 is because of playable Tails. It's also another graphical leap. Like, they're just the graphical leaps just don't stop. You know, technically speaking. Yeah, the game does look pleasant. It's pleasant to the eyes. Nice sprite work. You know, there's this bouncy spring. It's on the box art, but like it's fun to like mess around with. I can't bounce off of enemies though, which is kind of weird. Bosses, yeah, the bosses do have like slightly more interesting design. So this is one boss that's like a freaking first it's like an onslaught of penguin robots, and then I destroy all of them, and then literally I'm like standing in the middle of the stage, and then it's literally just this egg drops from the middle of the sky and kills me. So then the next run, I destroy the penguins, I make sure to stay away from the middle of the screen, I destroy the egg, and then once I do that, I'm like standing in the middle of the screen again, wondering, okay, what's gonna happen next? And then literally one of the penguin robots just zooms in on me on freaking the left side of the screen, and then I just die from that. That was kind of a troll boss, to be honest. Man. But yeah, I'd say the boss design is a bit more interesting in this game. Yeah, so because I play as Tails, I don't really have experience with the special stages, but yeah, I'd say overall this is a better platformer out of, you know, between Sonic 1 and 2. This is a better one. Yeah, it's definitely better than okay, in my opinion. Okay, and now we get to Sonic Triple Trouble. This is regarded as pretty much the best Game Gear Sonic game, and you know what? I gotta say, man, it kind of is. It kind of is. I almost want, like, part of me just wants to stick it here because it is kind of more the same. I'll just put it up here for now. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but in terms of the platforming games, this is the best. Another graphical leap. You know, Sonic and Tails are not treated as difficulty modes, you know, because again, Sonic Chaos, Tails couldn't even play special stages and junk, but now Triple Trouble, the characters are treated as equals. There are some more mechanics, such as like if you're like rolling over water, you can like hold jump and just kind of skip. You can kind of skip the water, kind of like if you're like. Kind of like if you threw a rock at a lake and the rock just skips the lake like that. Sonic has the Strike Dash, which I didn't use too much, but it does grant a bit of invincibility when you use it through enemies. But to be honest, I just use the Spin Dash most of the time to get through enemies. I think that's just more practical. And the flying spin attack, when you bounce off of a spring, Sonic just kind of looks up and just kind of, you know, he's like, wee, I'm off the spring, I'm looking up. Yeah, but the problem with that is that you're vulnerable to enemies, so you have to press jump again, and then he curls back up to a ball. And literally, this is like a necessary thing to do when you get to the first boss. The first boss literally requires you to use this technique, which is actually pretty interesting. It makes the first boss actually pretty interesting. Like, you can't just, because it's like a little bug bagnik with a spring on top of it, but you have to bounce off that spring to get to the boss, but then you gotta press jump again to actually curl up and damage it. So it's interesting in that regard. Triple Trouble also continues like the kind of blocky style level design that Chaos established, but the levels don't feel as homogeneous, which is a good thing. Music, it's not super memorable, but y'all know that Sunset Park Act 2, the latter part exists. You know, that's y'all already know that's like the song of the game. Like, come on, y'all already know the friggin' you get on the train, and then all of a sudden the main music stops, and then you get to that new music, and you got the little enemy gauntlet going on. Like, come on, it's pretty epic, honestly. None of the other platformer games do a thing like that. Like, I almost wonder, like, why the heck did they only do it for that stage and nothing else? It's kind of wild, really. Knuckles is here. Knuckles is acting as an antagonist along with Eggman and Fang the Sniper, Knack the Weasel, blah blah blah. I mean, nowadays he's being called Fang the Hunter. I guess, you know, Sega doesn't want the word sniper in the name of a Sonic character, but yeah, Fang is here. Fang is also a part of the special stages, which, yeah, this game has honestly one of the most unique takes on special stages that I've seen from Sonic games, because you don't just do the same thing. Like, each time you access a special stage, which, by the way, in order to access the one, you have to collect 50 rings, and then you have to find a item canister with a Chaos Emerald on it, and then once you break it with 50 rings, the little sparkly portal opens up, you jump in, and then you're taken into this, I don't know, this like other realm where Fang is, and there were like a few various things I had to do, like, you know, just run to the end. You know, the first one I played was reminiscent of like one of the bonus stages from Sonic 1 Game Gear, where, okay, I could collect rings, but I also gotta collect these little clocks because there's a bit of a time limit. And then once I get to the end, I encounter Fang, but Fang just pushes a button and friggin' obliterates himself or whatever, and then I grab the emerald and, you know, GG's. And then there's another one where I had to fly a plane in like a 3D setting and chase down Fang or something like that. And then like another one was like a boss fight. Like, wow, that's like... It's really different, man. That's a really different way to handle the special stages for a Sonic game. It's really interesting. Yeah, how were the I guess the bosses were okay. The bosses were definitely okay. They're probably on the same level as like Sonic Chaos, I would say. Yeah, Knuckles was one of the bosses. Knuckles was the boss in the water level. I'm just like, man, really? But Eggman gave him his own little machine to work with, I guess, so that's cool. So on the title screen, you can scroll up or down to access like sound test or time attack, respectively. Yeah, it's kind of neat to have a sound test without needing to like enter a cheat code. The time attack is weird though, because it's literally one unique stage that you play time attack through. Like, I was literally like, man, are there any other time attack stages? I kept playing through the same one over and over. It's just that one stage. But I mean, it's fine. Nothing too crazy, but it is interesting to have like a completely separate stage. Overall, Triple Trouble, it's easily the best out of the platforming games. It's a very nice game. One I could definitely see myself coming back to every now and again if I was in a Game Gear mood. I mean, if I was truly in a Game Gear mood, yeah, I'd probably boot up Sonic 1, but Sonic 1's not that interesting of a game. It's just like okay. Chaos is slightly better, but Triple Trouble is like it. Like that's like the peak Game Gear Sonic platforming game. You know, it's like it's just there. Also, Tails has access to like a vehicle in this game, but I did not play as Tails in my recent playtime of this game, so I'm not sure what that's like. That's something I would speak more of in Tails Adventure, but that's gonna be for a bit later. Anyway, moving on. So now we gotta go, oh my god. So now we have to go ahead and talk about Sonic Blast. And bro, this game is trash. Like, come on, y'all know. If you even seen a screenshot of this game, like, come on. If y'all even seen a screenshot of this freaking game, in terms of like graphical advancement, it is the furthest push because of the pre-rendered graphics. But at the same time, it looks so rough. Oh man, it's so not great looking, man. It's oh man. And then on top of that, the physics are so bad. It does not feel finished. Also, during my playtime, I play as Knuckles. His glide is pathetic. He drops like a rock, dude. Like, man, it's so... The enemies look so... Like, the sprites are huge, and the enemies are so tiny. It's just so jarring looking. Very plain backgrounds. Levels can feel... Yeah, levels can feel incredibly short, which I mean is like... It's kind of a thing across the board with these games. I mean, Triple Trouble's levels do feel longer, but not in a bad way. Triple Trouble feels like a pretty substantial game, honestly. Blast is so rough, man. Bosses are like crazy dumb easy. Also jank, like you can still get hit. I guess I kind of like how when you get hit, you don't actually lose all your rings. I think you lose like 5 of them or something. So I mean, the game kind of goes easy on you, but like, I don't know, man. Like, and also, yeah, there's special stages. You gotta find like a big ring, and then the special stage is literally you running. It's sort of like the half pipe stages where you just run forward. You collect like 50 rings or something, and then you get the emerald at the end. Yada yada yada. Blue Marines. Oh my god, this is where I stopped. I said earlier, like, man, the levels feel so short, and then this level comes up. It is like one of the worst. It is one of the worst stages I have ever played in a Sonic game. I could think of some other bad ones, like, I mean, Labyrinth Zone's pretty synonymous with people in Genesis Sonic 1. And then the next one I'm thinking of, like, is like Frozen Factory Act 3 from Lost World 3DS. This one's pretty bad, though. So, you have to go underwater. Then there's like this section with the pipes, and they kind of make you flow in a certain direction without you, like, it's not visually clear, but they make you flow in a certain direction. So what you have to do is like once you're out of one of the pipes, you have to like you have to kind of stop yourself, like maybe jump and then move back. You have to like carefully do some platforming on these tiny little platforms. These tiny little platforms underwater, mind you. Underwater. You got this really precise platforming on this jank game to get over the flowing pipes. That took several tries. Like at first I had to figure that crap out. And then, you know, once I got past that, there was just more confusing pipe nonsense. I was just done, man. I spent way more time on that stage than I would have liked to admit. I was done. I would say playing as Knuckles made that a little easier because I could kind of influence my aerial momentum with the glide. But it's still rough, man. Yeah, this game definitely belongs in the rough pile. It's easily the worst out of all the platforming games. It's potentially the worst game. But we'll get back to like what's the most rough, like worst game, like later. Yeah. So that's Sonic Blast. Next, the Sonic Drift games. That's why I tackled next. So Sonic Drift, well, I guess I'll just do one at a time. By the way, these box arts, they look the same on this tier list, but this is Sonic Drift 1. It's not that great. So it's a racing game. It's sort of akin to like Super Mario Kart, but it definitely doesn't handle like Super Mario Kart. Because what ends up happening is you're driving forward, and then eventually some arrow signs come up, and it should like warn you, okay, here comes the curve, and now you gotta turn. So you try turning, and then what happens is you go off track. And then you're like, wow, what do I do? I'm going off track, I'm hitting signs and trees. Well, you gotta tap brake as you're like steering. It's just, it feels really rough. You're pretty much fighting against the track as you're driving. I mean, that's kind of that's kind of it. It's just not a great feeling racing game. Half the screen is taken up by a map and UI, which, granted, Super Mario Kart did this already. Only 4 characters. I mean, it's kind of whatever. There's 4 characters: Sonic, Tails, Amy, Eggman. They all have their own abilities. So you collect 2 rings, and then you press up, and it's like Sonic gets literally a speed boost. Just kind of, it's kind of top tier. I mean, you could be in first place, you collect 2 rings, and now you get a speed boost. He's like, see ya, suckers, I'm out. You know, Tails has a jump, Amy has a heart that, I don't know, disrupts you or something. Eggman's got a landmine that disrupts you. But Sonic easily has the best ability in the game. I mean, you just pick him over everyone else, really. It has a fair number of tracks, music is okay, but just not a great feeling racing game overall. That's just kind of how I feel. It's not like the worst game I ever played, but it's like, with the perspective of playing modern racing games, it's like, ugh, man. And then also, like, playing Super Mario Kart, yeah, it's definitely better than, like, Super Mario Kart's definitely better than, like, one of these, like, low-poly racing games. But now we gotta talk about Sonic Drift 2, which is definitely above Drift 1. Not that much better, but it's like, okay, you've got more characters. You know, you got Knuckles and Fang and Metal Sonic. You got more tracks. I think it might be a placebo effect. The graphics do look a little better, and the handling does feel like a little better too. But it's like, it's still Sonic Drift, so it's like... yeah. The music's better. I like the weather effects too. There's some little, there's some gimmicks on the track as well. There's like little hills. There's like a reverse, thing, a little, white ball with a red R on it that's like, it reverses your controls. There's even like dummy racers if you're like in first place, kind of like F-Zero. Yeah, it's better in that regard. Also, fun fact, this is so funny, but Arc System Works developed this game. The Guilty Gear developers, like, that's kind of funny. Despite all that, it still just feels like Sonic Drift 1. Yeah, it's better than Drift 1. It's not, I just don't think it's like okay, because it's not like the first game I'd like pick up. It has more characters and junk and more tracks. It has like slalom, how you say it's slalom tracks. So you just drive, it's like you just drive like straight on. It's like a 1 lap thing, but it's like from start to end. Pretty neat. There's tracks that don't have like ground off the track, so you could fall off on some of them. So a bit of challenge too. There's tunnels. There's half pipes. I guess that's what you call them, like off the left or right. You kind of drive off these half pipes to left or right. Pretty neat. They did some neat stuff here. And also, Metal Sonic is kind of busted. Metal Sonic's ability is basically a better boost than Sonic's. It requires 3 rings instead of 2, but it's way faster. So if you actually manage to get 3 rings in your first place as Metal Sonic, GG's. Now you're just the best character in the game. All right, yeah, that's Sonic Drift 2. Definitely belongs in the category with Sonic Drift 1, despite it being, like, better. We now have to talk about Sonic Labyrinth, okay? We gotta talk about Sonic Labyrinth. So when I made the video for the initial announcement for Sonic Origins Plus, you know, I was briefly describing all these games, and then during the tail end of that section of the video, I said I don't like Sonic Labyrinth. I literally got one commenter. Like, they type like a whole paragraph of why they think Sonic Labyrinth is like good, and then I'm just like, all right, man, I guess I'm gonna play through this game again because I'm gonna do this tier list thing eventually, and I guess maybe my perspective will change. Cause like, you know, I historically speaking, I just didn't like Sonic Labyrinth that much. Definitely not one of my favorites. Definitely not a lot of people's favorites. And I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but this game is okay. It's okay. It's like, God, it's like, I would say it's like above Sonic 2, actually. It's like, it's actually better than I remember. I think it's because I actually sat down and really, I really sat down and like focused on this one. I didn't end up beating it because I got stuck on a level. Well, skill issue. But like, I did play through a lot of it. It's fine. Like I played it. I would play it again. I would. So the premise of this game is like Eggman stole Sonic's shoes. So now Sonic moves slower. He has to navigate through these isometric mazes and collect 3 rings against the end of the stage. Yeah, it's like it feels fine. I mean, when I'm like sitting down, just like critically playing it. It's not like my first choice because you know I would normally pick like a platforming game. This game is fine as long as you're not like rolling around all over the place. If you know when and where to stop and collect keys and walk around, it's fine. Some of the maze-like stuff was like okay to get past. The second level was confusing me a lot with the layout of the cannons and junk, but I got past it. There's like more gimmicks such as doors you walk through and you start teleporting around areas. Oh, I mean, this is a specific flaw for those that are sensitive to flashing lights, but unfortunately, every time you collect a power-up, the screen flashes a lot, so it's gonna make a rough day for some people if they're like sensitive to you know, flashing lights and colors and junk. Yeah, pretty okay music. The boss theme, I kind of like the boss theme. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the boss theme sounded kind of cool. But the bosses at the same time are pretty weird, and they're both weird and easy. Like the first boss just felt like a regular boss, even though there was like a bit of an enemy or no, I think that was the case with all of them. Like I think all the bosses throw like obstacles at you, enemies and obstacles at the beginning, and then they reveal themselves, and then you go on and attack them. Yeah, I beat quite a few of them. They could definitely be taken out like pretty quickly if you know exactly where to hit them. And they're just vulnerable all the time. There's the level Land of the Sea or whatever it's called. There's this like clam boss that only reveals its weak spot like occasionally, like after it stops moving, it reveals its weak spot. I think that was kind of the most challenging boss. Either the first or that sea boss. You know, just, but it was still like really easy to get through. One of the later levels, I was like really stumped on because it was really not clear to me as to how to beat it. And as it turns out, there was a moving platform on like the bottom left of the screen that I never saw. Like I never waited at a certain corner of the stage, but it was there because I needed to get to like a particular part of the stage because there was like a whole platform where their key was, but there's these moving platforms that like once they move towards a particular location, they explode rather than moving back. So I had to look for another moving platform. I couldn't see it. That's not really a flaw, but I was just like, oh, this level got me. Funny joke. Yeah, some cheeky level design. It's fine, man. I think this game's fine. Better than Sonic 2. I think I'd pick this one up again. Like, it's fine. Now we get to the games that don't even have Sonic in the title. Dr. Robotnik's Beam Machine. I mean, it almost goes... It's not an outstanding game. It's like, it's Puyo Puyo. I mean, if you ever played Puyo Puyo, freaking like Puyo Puyo Tetris, like any of these like Match 4... Bean puzzle games, like that's what this is, and it's a solid version on Game Gear. You know, you got you got all the various stages and the challenge and all that. Like the stages eventually get faster and more difficult. Just a very fun puzzle game. It obviously does not have much of the presentation of the Genesis game, but at the same time, it does have an extra mode being the puzzle mode. And what this is like, it presents itself as the Mean Bean Machine manual. It acts like a tutorial. It kind of shows you like, okay, this is kind of what you should aim at doing when playing the game. They're just like, oh, clear all these red beans, and then it just shows you the layout of red beans, and you clear it. Okay, now clear these amount of beans in like a row. So now the game is teaching you how to do combos and teaching you how to do like the what is it called, the staircase chain thing, and like the sandwich chain thing and all that. Like, that's something the Genesis game actually lacks. I mean, granted, the Genesis game has like the head-to-head music. I don't recall if that music is in the Game Gear version, but that music is pretty fire, I'm not gonna lie. In Sonic Origins Plus, you can, you know, there's like a separate selection for the head-to-head mode. so you can just play with Buddy or something. I don't know, to play freaking Game Gear Mean Bean Machine. I mean, freaking these days you could just buy like an online game and just play it like that, but if you just want to do local Game Gear, I guess, sure, whatever. Yeah, puzzle mode's neat. It has exercise mode. That's about it. It's Mean Bean Machine on Game Gear. I don't have much else to say on it. There you go. And now we talk about Spinball, which I completely skipped, but yeah. Oh yeah. This game is oh, it is rough. Oh, it is so rough. Is it worse than Blast? Is it worse? Man, this is something I've had to think about this. Is this worse than Blast? It's very, very rough, actually. Let's talk about it first. Horrendous physics. Horrendous. Both on foot and the pinball physics, they are horrendous. You will go flying so far in an instant. Like, it's hard to describe. So first of all, the goal in the stages for Spinball is to collect a certain amount of Chaos Emeralds. It has like 4 levels. The first couple you gotta collect 3, and then, you know, make it to the boss room, and then defeat the boss and move on with your life. And then, you know, go to the specials, go to the bonus stage. But man, first of all, confusing level design. In Toxic Caves alone, you need to collect these little blue items. They're kind of placed in like corners of the stage. You have to somehow navigate Sonic into those tiny little items to like drain the toxic slime out of the chamber where the first emerald is, and then you know, once you're done with that, you gotta kind of navigate him through the tunnels, the pipes to the other sections where you have to get the other emeralds, and it won't be inherently clear as to how to open certain obstacles, and there's these little parts with the snakes coming out of the holes, and you gotta destroy them to bust this door open. That feels very rough on this version of the game compared to the Genesis one. I would say the Genesis game physics are like, they're not great either, but they're like miles better than this game. Yeah, it can be very unclear on what to do at times. Yeah, it can be unclear as to where the boss room is. Like, it doesn't look that distinct. Like, it just looks like some other little hole you would go into in this game. And then it's like the bosses are so freaking lackluster, man. They don't really fight back. They kind of sit there and wait to die. That's it, man. Like, I think the final boss actually tried to do something, but not much. Maybe that's just hard to balance in a freaking pinball game. And then it's like, what made the bad physics really apparent was the bonus stages, because you do those on foot, and it does not feel like a classic Sonic game whatsoever. You're navigating Pinball Sonic on foot through these bonus stages that are reminiscent once again of the Sonic 1 Game Gear game. You gotta like collect rings and junk, maybe destroy some little enemies or whatever to bust the entryway open for the next section to like get through the whole thing. It's just a bonus mode for collecting rings and maybe getting some 1-ups, I guess. Unfortunately, this version does not have the bonus stage where you actually play on like a pinball table in the Genesis version, and literally the Freedom Fighters from like the Archie comics slash the Sonic Sat AM show up. Like that doesn't happen. And then like the later 2 stages, like the first 2 stages require you to collect 3 emeralds, but then the later 2 stages require you to collect 5. And you're just bouncing around all over the place. It's really unclear as to where they are. You just gotta like bounce all around, try not to die. Hope, like, I found myself accidentally running into the emeralds. So that's just kind of how I got through the game. I was just running into stuff by accident. Yeah, the fact that it is 4 levels long is a plus. At least I'm not going through it that much. And then the other plus is that it doesn't have the options menu music from the Genesis version. It's actually mute. There's actually no music on the options menu in the Game Gear game. That's fine. That's okay. I guess that does put it above Blast. Sure, why not? But yeah, there you go. The Game Gear Sonic Spinball, it's freaking rough, man. That is a rough video game. I don't know if I said this before, but the overall music kind of sucks. It's really muddled and like really. It just goes past your mind. It's just really forgettable, man. Does not have the sick beats like Toxic Caves on Genesis, or even Lava Powerhouse on Genesis. Lava Powerhouse on Genesis does sound pretty good. Not here though. Not here. So now we gotta talk about the Tails games, okay? And this is where we talk about Tails Skypatrol. This is the next game I tackled. Ended up finishing it pretty short. I would put this in okay, but above or below Sonic 2. It's such a, I mean, it's different, right? It's like, it's an on-rails, a 2D on-rails flying game. You play as Tails, you gotta go after these weird-looking characters you've never seen before. Main boss is like a witch. The game gives off a really cutesy vibe, you know, really cutesy music and graphics. Which, you know, despite being cutesy, it is nice. It is a nice game to look at. Nice sprite work. Now, because it's an on-rails game, there was some, I had to get used to this a bit. You know, you gotta like slow down and speed up at certain times. Tails has this ring which can hook onto objects and junk. There's like balloons that can make him fly upward. Without that, because the other thing is that this game is like a auto scroller, so you can die by touching walls or getting crushed by walls in the camera, but also yeah, you do die by touching walls and the ground, which kind of sucks. And I think even the ceiling. I think you die by you can't touch walls, the ground, or the ceiling in this game. You just die. Also, there's like a fuel system. You have limited fuel because, you know, Tails is using his tails to fly through the whole stage. He's probably getting tired, so you gotta pick up these mint candies so that he can actually keep flying. The ring is also a weapon. It's used to defeat enemies. You can spin it around Tails. It doesn't act like a shield, but sometimes you want to spin the ring around so that you don't accidentally hook onto things. But yeah, this game is overall fine. There's some really annoying obstacles like these like quickly appearing orbs. They appear all of a sudden, you're like not aware of the pattern. You try to navigate it by destroying some with the ring and moving a bit faster, but you're just gonna die unless you know exactly where the blind spots are. Yeah, nice. Good music. It fits the vibe. Not my favorite music, but it's good music. I'll acknowledge that. Yeah, it has like a tutorial level. It's not, I mean, the game doesn't straight up say, oh, this is how you do this is how you do that, but like, it has, the first stage acts as a tutorial, and then the subsequent stages, at the end of each of them is one of the boss characters, and those stages are a little more challenging than the tutorial stage, obviously. The bosses are a little awkward to fight because you can easily bump into them, and then Tails will be sent crashing down, and you gotta like mash buttons so that he actually goes back to flying again. And if you touch an enemy while you're also close to like the ground, yeah, you're just dead. That happened to me several times actually. I would travel at like normal pace, and I touch an enemy and I just die. But you know, I guess that's also because I get a bit greedy and I'm trying to hit the enemies like multiple times because there's just an opportune time for it. The enemies tend to throw a lot of little projectiles that can interrupt your flight. It's a pretty okay game. It's the only game here that's like an on-rails game. Very short. I think it's like 5 levels long, but I say it's very short, but the levels feel kind of long. I guess that's because of the pace. There's a lot of times where you gotta hook onto one of these twirly things and backtrack, or you know, you gotta latch onto a weight to travel to like a lower path because there might be candy on the lower path. And if you don't collect the candy, you're gonna run out of fuel and just fall down and die. Otherwise, pretty okay game. I'm still not sure if I put it over Sonic 2, but we'll look over all the games and replacements at the end and see if I change my mind on anything. Oh, wow. So finally, Tails Adventure. Man, I almost want to put this game in like outstanding, but below Triple Trouble, to be honest, but it has a lot of flaws, so I almost want to put it here. I almost want to like keep it right here. So, okay, Tails Adventure. This is essentially a Tails Metroidvania. That's what this is. Basically, Tails is taking a vacation at this island, and he's got to fight some bird people invade. I don't know where they come from. some alien bird people or something. Yeah, the bird people invade, they burn a whole forest, and Tails is like, oh no, what do I do? I'm on vacation, ah! And then he just like literally like goes into the forest with like bombs and just goes on and defeats the birds with bombs. And you know, pretty much it's just you're navigating area to area. You're finding items that can help you get through certain parts of each area in order to find more items until you eventually get to the final confrontation and, you know, beat the game. This is probably like graphically the best game on this list. It probably is, especially in concern with like the sprite work, the animations. Tails' sprite animation in this game is kind of crazy, right? This man Tails has like ledge grabs and like all these little like idle animations and junk. Like they put so much. I don't know why they did it though. They put so much care into this game. It animates pretty well. Even the bird enemies animate like pretty okay. There's these tiny bird enemies that animate like little karate dudes. Like, man, what the heck? Like, why they do it for this game? Yeah, I'm like super tempted to just put it up with Triple Trouble. I feel like this is kind of it. Gameplay-wise, yeah, Tails feels kind of slow. He kind of trots along the ground. He doesn't really move as fast as he would in like a platformer game. Not so much music. It does sound fine. It's definitely good music. There just isn't that much of it. In particular, some areas use the same music, but you can find a radio item, and when you actually equip that, you can actually change the music. But that kind of feels like a waste of a slot because like one of my complaints about this game is that you only get 4 item slots. There's like over 20 items. Well, when you take away the Chaos Emeralds, which the Chaos Emeralds, so God, I can almost make an entire video talk about this game alone because there's just too much going on in this game. But it's like, yeah, you gotta collect the Chaos Emeralds to power up your like flight meter and health, which yes, health, the rings act like health. You do not lose, like you lose rings when you get hit, but you don't get to pick them up. It literally acts like health in this game. So initially when you start the game, your like flight meter, which yeah, you have a flight meter, it's pretty low. Tails can't fly that much. Then you collect the emeralds and then you end up increasing the flight meter gauge as well as your maximum rings, so you could get up to 99 rings maximum health, and you're just pretty good at that point. They do balance this game with Tails flight because while you can fly around a lot of places, some areas blow wind like down towards you when you're flying, so you can't. So there's some areas where you can't just fly to actually progress. You actually have to like do some platforming or some puzzle solving and just kind of navigate carefully around some areas. You gotta use the remote robot to like move some items so Tails can actually like get a boost up to some areas or whatever. And I guess another oh god, right, the backtracking. So the thing is with the items, yeah, you can only carry 4 items. When you collect a new item while your slots are full, you can't like equip that item and maybe replace something else. You literally have to go back to Tails' house and just equip the new item and take away something else. But if you're like deep into an area, you have to get out of there yourself. There is a teleportation device. I did not find that on my playthrough, which, yeah, I did end up beating this game because I put like, I put way too much time into it for this video. I just have straight up footage of me beating the game. But yeah, I'm assuming the teleportation device would help with that, but without it, backtracking sucks. You literally have to find a way to exit the stage. There could be some bombless pits that, get you out easy, so that's okay. It could be unclear to figure out how to get past certain obstacles. So, first area has like this gray wall, and you need napalm bombs for it. You wouldn't know that unless, I don't know, you collect the napalm bombs eventually. Maybe you're thinking, I'll go back and try that and see if it breaks this. And if it does, and like, let's say an area like that is deep into a level, and then you go all the way over there and you try to test it, like, oh, does it break this? I guess not. Well, I gotta get out of this place. I don't have the teleportation device. I gotta like mosey on out of here. You know, and that coupled with Tails' slow initial movement speed, it kind of makes things feel pretty tedious. There's items for specific situations. Eventually you unlock, I think, what is it called? The Sea Fox or something? So you get that eventually, and then that's basically your submarine. You're navigating around Lake Rocky. There's like a bunch of paths you could go through to get to, there's like an upper path you could get to, like a boss. I guess I should talk about the bosses. Bosses are okay. sort of very. There's like a couple of them that are mechs that you just gotta like fly over and beat. They could definitely, they could absolutely anti-air you, because yeah, this game is absolutely designed around Tails' flight. You can find power up. There's like separate items for the Sea Fox. It's not clear initially because I collected an item called anti-air rocket. I wasn't sure if I could equip that myself or if that was for the vehicle. It was for the vehicle, but the game doesn't tell you that. The Sea Fox can equip its own 8 items, and yeah, that it ranges from like weapons to like other gear, like extra armor, which, by the way, a couple of the items up for the Sea Fox are like Zap and extra armor. Those are busted. Zap is basically a screen clearing move as long as you're underwater, because once you get the Lake Crystal, you're basically navigating up a river. So you can't really use Zap there, but underwater with Zap, you could destroy everything. You don't have to use like a Vulcan gun, which is like it's like the first item you get. So you can just shoot things, but Zap literally annihilates like nearly everything. But yeah, vehicular navigation's okay. Yeah, and just like any other Game Gear game, hit detection sucks. Also, really cheap enemy placement. There's like these bats in these levels, and sometimes I'm like jumping up to like ledge grab on these platforms, but these bats will hit me no matter what. Even if I try going off to the side, they're gonna fly up and frickin' hit me and knock me back down. So I have to, like, that's why the hammer is like one of the best items in the game, because you can jump and then swing the hammer to anti-air them, and then you can like potentially ledge grab, and yeah. There's some really awkward navigation around the game, but it's overall a really outstanding game, as the list says. I think it is outstanding. I think it's like, man, I think I'd have a better time with this game the second time through. The first time was pretty rough. I did have to like glance at a guide. I didn't use a walkthrough to like beat this game, but like I glanced at the guide because there were certain parts I was really confused by. Like there's one section 11. No, actually, there's a couple sections. One in the I think it's like the Cavern Island, or like Mount. What's it called? Mount Poly 1? Yeah, Mount Poly 1. There's a wall that looks breakable by like a bomb or something. So I kept trying to like throw a remote bomb at it, and it doesn't break. I tried swinging the hammer at it, it doesn't break. As it turns out, I needed the large bomb. It's not clear that I need the large bomb to break through that wall, but behind that wall was like another thing for the Sea Fox, and then there's like another wall within the like the volcano cavern or something. I need a big bomb there as well, but it's really unclear. It's like really, because it just looks like any other thing you could break, but it's not. I don't know, I just didn't like how some walls look like things I could break by myself already, but it actually wasn't. Unlike the other Game Gear games, you can actually press jump while you're in the air to fly. You can't do that in like the platforming games. You have to press up and jump while grounded to fly. I kind of hate that. I kind of hate that input, so it's nice that Tails Adventure actually has like the sort of proper input. You don't have to mash jump though, you just kind of fly. Yeah, I think this game's outstanding. It's flawed. That's why I put it below Triple Trouble, but it's like, I think I have all these games, it's like really outstanding. I would play it again now with the knowledge I have to just like navigate through properly. Also, you can collect items based on Tails' friends, like, Sonic and Knuckles, and well, Fang's not really a friend, but the Sonic item in particular is really busted because it lets you do a spin dash, and like you could even charge a spin dash in the air and just break through blocks and destroy enemies. Like, yeah, that's kind of crazy, busted. That's like one of the best items in the game for Tails. Yeah, that's kind of a side note. Alright. So now looking over this list again, I definitely talked a good deal about Tails Adventure, but let me see. Do these things actually belong here? I would say, yeah, I'd say rough is accurate. Yeah, Sonic Blast has terrible physics, man. Spinball has probably worse physics, but the game's shorter. It's kind of confusing, but shorter, so I could just get through it. The Sonic Drift games are not great racing games. Takes some getting used to. Drift 2 is better. Yeah, it is. I guess the okay pile is where I, yeah, I really do like Sonic 1. Labyrinth, I have a newfound appreciation for. I don't think it's better than okay. Sonic 2 is just, it's just Sonic 1, but it has things I just don't like about it. That's why it's like below. Tails Skypatrol is not a game I prefer to play. That's why it's lower. I almost want to put it higher than Sonic 2, so I might just do that. which is kind of crazy for me to think, but I don't think Sonic 2 is like a not okay game. Chaos, Mean Bean Machine, yeah, those are fine there. Should Chaos go above Mean Bean Machine? Maybe not. You know what the problem is? I played through these platformer games like each time in a row, and I think that kind of affected my judgment on them because I just felt like I was playing the same game over and over, but it was just getting slightly better until it just crashed into being something really bad. But no, I think this is kind of where I'm feeling with these games. This is kind of where I'm feeling with them. Yeah, the Game Gear games overall are like okay. Obviously the Genesis games have the leg up on them, but yeah, man, it's. The Game Gear games are kind of in a rough state just because of the hardware they're on, but there's some diamonds in the rough. Yeah, there's some diamonds in the rough, I'd say.